different brands, and Kroger King Soopers had their own line of craft sodas for a while. They under their, I think it's Private Selection is their brand.
Okay.
They stood up a line of craft sodas, and they had one that was called an Irish cream soda. That was like a malty cream soda that had like the consistency of a stout.
You're kind of
and it was really good. Huh. And then they discontinued it.
If anything had alcohol in it, then you'd be describing it like a real,
pretty much,
connoisseur. Jacob, thanks for coming down. Jacob say, it's been forever, dude. Probably been 3 years or something at least since last I talked to you.
Yeah,
in person.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Other than sending notes on Facebook, but yeah, it's you've been in like, I've always known you as the 3D printer guy. And then going like, dude, check out this picture of my friend who built his own Mandalorian suit.
Yeah, that's how it started, really.
Because you had a perfect helmet, the whole thing, the entire gear, and that you made yourself, right?
Yeah, well, when COVID hit,
sure,
right, they wanted us to wear masks to church. And I was like, well, this is dumb. So I showed up to church in a Mandalorian helmet.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if I'm going to wear a mask, I'm going to wear something fun.
Yeah.
So
I'll show you.
The mask turned into a helmet, the helmet turned into a full suit?
Well, it's a lot of work to put the suit on.
I imagine so. Man.
Just because of the responsibility of fighting
of being a Mandalorian.
The Empire.
Or all of the like magnetic seals and the electronics.
Not just rogue people with lightsabers. Okay. Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah. But no, it's definitely easier with two people, but it takes, like, even with two people, it'll take like 10 minutes to put the suit on.
Wow.
So it's multiple layers and like different parts and stuff. So, but
sounds fun.
It's a good time.
I can't imagine what it would be like to have the capacity to do that in the first place. I mean, you did this on your home printer or a work printer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I had it was a printer at home. I had just gotten my first real job like after college, so my first like full-time thing.
I see.
Right? And I had some minimal interaction with printers. I had used one at a maker space and at a library and then used some at college. But, at college, they either had the cheap ones that never worked, or the stupid expensive ones
that were so complicated
that worked pretty well, but like you had to have special permission to use them,
Okay.
And so I got my nice job right around Black Friday, and Black Friday happened, and there was what was currently kind of the like industry standard for hobbyist printers was on sale for a good price, and I got one with the intent to make some Star Wars cosplay props and stuff.
What's the brand that you're starting out with?
And what size was it? 24 by 24?
Yeah, so I started with a Creality.
Okay, yeah.
Creality, like it's almost a household name, right? Because there was a race to the bottom with the 3D printing market, and Creality got there first. Right? The Creality Ender 3 is the most ubiquitous, $100 at Micro Center printer you can find.
Right. Well, I mean, what a great way to start, though. I mean, like if you're just trying to learn how to.
Yeah. So I started with what's called the CR10, which is the Ender 3's bigger brother. Everything's the same. It's just bigger. So it's about a cubic foot of build space.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. That's somewhat large then.
Yeah. So you have enough space to like print a helmet in one piece, or, a lot of things that would be split up into like 4 or 6 pieces.
Right.
Unlike your Ender.
Okay. So if you're building the helmet for your own head, are you you take a tape measure around your head and you stick your head in the printer and just fall asleep and then wake up in the morning and it's on you? I mean, perfect.
Yeah, that's it. Having it print on your head
Yeah.
is the best way to do it.
You're not taking it off
Convenience.
according to
it's a
Mandalorian
little-
rules.
It's a little awkward if you take it off, so just printing it on is the easiest. No, a lot of people would like print.
This is the way, right? Come on,
This is the way.
It's the best show ever.
Use the force.
So good, so good. No, a lot of people, at least starting out, it was pretty normal to like print just a sliver of it,
Okay.
right? And to try it on, it'd be like, is this too small? Does it fit over my head?
Like
Does
a
this
ring
like
of it, if
just
you
a
will?
ring?
I
Yeah,
see.
That's
just like a 5 or 10 millimeters thick
Yeah, that's smart.
of the helmet,
Yeah.
and kind of try it on and be like, does this fit? But eventually I moved to, there's a software that is made by just someone in the cosplay community called
Okay.
Armorsmith.
Yeah.
That's a digital mannequin where you size the mannequin to you,
Oh.
and then you can take your file and
Oh, that's
stick it on the
clever.
mannequin
Oh, nice.
and kind of size things there. So especially if I'm printing a suit for myself or someone else,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I've got a fabric tape measure, and you do all the tailor measuring,
Right,
of,
right.
what's your neck and your shoulders and all of that, so that you can build your virtual mannequin, and then you try on all the armor on the mannequin and you scale it, and it's really helpful to see like
that's
all of it together.
I mean, does it do different head shapes? Because every human has a different head shape. So
Yeah,
getting the helmet to
We're not all
fit.
perfect. Like,
it gets you kind of close, and when in doubt, add like 5 or 10% scale. But it's,
That way you have room to
yeah,
pad and-
or print it a couple times. But yeah, it gets there's some adjustability. Obviously, this is not like everything, but there is. You can do like the length, the width, and the
Oh, I see.
circumference.
Oh.
So it does, kind of account for.
It gets you really
like, do you have a
close.
football head or
Yeah.
like a really round head,
basketball head.
So it gets you pretty close. So
Nice.
I mean,
I can't imagine taking on that task. That would be fun and what's the learning curve, and getting from point A to Z would be so fun.
yeah, it's a steep learning curve, and especially like the cosplay community is so big, and there's so many people, and there's so many like genuinely talented people. Because of my cosplay, I'm friends with some other people across the world who've worked on it, and
right.
mostly I got info from them. But
No, I mean, that's
there's
encouraging because you guys really share everything. Like, I mean, there's files for everything on there. I'm just kind of sitting down with a cousin who's into it, and then just also looking through the stuff where you go, oh, I can get anything off of Shapeways or whatever, I guess, and it's all free.
there's a bunch of sites.
Yeah.
Yeah, my go-tos would be Thingiverse, Cults
Thingiverse.
3D,
Yeah.
and Printables. Those are the three that I'm always checking. And then like more CAD oriented for the engineers is going to be GrabCAD. But yeah, there's so many sources out, because most of those file sharing websites started as these companies were first offering these hobbyist level printers. They also started file sharing websites to encourage people like, this is how you can use it, right? So like if you have a printer,
So they could
share
sell
something
more.
you've designed,
Right.
and then other people. So there's this whole like community of people who share files online for other people to print and stuff. So
Just like that guy that we had on at the Kindig Academy, he prints 124 scale cars.
okay, yeah.
Speed. I can't remember the name of it. I'm so sorry, Chris. Speed. Diecast speed. I can't remember. Scale speed. Scale speed is what it was.
Okay.
And same thing. They had the same community where if one person wanted a 47 Willies or whatever particular, they go on to the file share website and request it, and somebody would be like, I have this one, I have that one. They have several different versions
Right.
of 47 Willies. But yeah, that's interesting how you can file share all that stuff, and there's nobody trying to be, oh, that's mine. You can't print it. That's mine.
Well, it depends, right? Because it's just like the automotive industry in that you have your exclusive high dollar sort of stuff where it's like very controlled or even if there's not money involved, some people are very particular about who has their files, and it kind of depends on how much effort goes into it, right?
Oh, I
like
see.
if your profession is a digital modeler and you're sharing a model that you made that maybe because of like IP property you can't make money off of, but this model took you like 60 to 80 hours to like properly sculpt.
So then you should
Right?
be
You don't want some person that you have no connection to taking it and printing 200 of them and throwing them on Etsy, or something.
That's
or like
true. Okay.
Graphic, right?
Yeah.
So there's a whole range of.
You hear that, Jeff Brewster?
There's your free files online that someone's just like, hey, here's this thing I made. If somebody else wants it, whatever. And
But
then there's
somebody
stuff
turns
that's
around and
like,
makes capital off of it. That's unethical.
Yeah. And there are licenses like on every 3D download. There's usually a license that comes with it that you can read, and they'll be marked like, either non-distribute, non-compete, or like non-commercial or commercial, and there's different kind of like what you're allowed to do.
That answers so many questions. Okay, because it's like just how it's so ripe for stealing. That whole universe of 3D modeling anything or printing. I mean, how could it not be? It's like I want this phone case, I want this whatever, I want this attachment for my vehicle, then
shifter knob,
I'll make it myself or whatever.
Nuts hanging off the back of my car.
Right. I mean, it's just
I want to print them.
Yeah. It's the cottage industry evolved.
I see.
Right. It's like if everybody had a 4-axis CNC machine in their garage. Right? Like maybe we'll get there someday where, those are still out of the price range of most people.
Oh, I would
That's
die
still
to
like
have
a
one.
company purchase only sort of thing.
Fuck,
right?
I would die to have one.
But
they keep saying that like it's the end of metal shapers and stuff like that too, with those robots that are pushing the
the 3D metal forming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been seeing that too, and they're as small as this 3x3 table now, and can make a piece that's 3x3, on the desk basically, and it's smooth and perfect and has logo in it too, while it's really complex.
Yeah, but you still got to get the file from somewhere.
Yeah,
because and then that's where are you getting the file? Because like if you let's say forward in the future, like everybody has a metal shaper in their garage,
right.
And you have a Toyota Camry because they still make them in any timeline. And
I think it's a Corolla.
You want to,
sure.
And you want to make a fender for it or whatever, right? Someone's probably put a Camry or a Corolla fender on the internet for free.
Okay,
right?
Maybe unless Toyota's prohibited them or whatever. But if something's cheap enough and common enough, it'll be free.
Yeah.
But you want a classic Range Rover fender or something that's a little more niche, something that's not as common or cheap, or like a supercar panel or something, right? Then someone's probably not thrown that out on the internet for free, and if you have to get someone to model it, then that's really, really expensive.
Yeah,
because that's a specialty skill set and it's a lot of time.
Yeah,
right.
But I would like to think in the future I have my own 3D scanner and I can just, do the handheld 3D scanner, go over and put it in the cab, go straight from.
Yeah, the 3D scanners are really fun.
They are awesome.
And maybe we'll get there, and like a good quality 3D scanner and AI as it becomes more developed.
Right.
That's scan to CAD to print is gonna happen really fast.
What's that one they claim that they have scan to print, but you still have to go through Fusion 360 and then go to print. I can't remember.
I mean that's a lot of what I do in my job is scan
What's your job now?
stuff.
Well, You're
Yeah.
at Carbon.
So my official title is the senior design engineer at Carbon High Performance.
Senior design. Wow, dude. Dude,
Whoop.
you're so young and you're the senior design. Okay. Welcome to the jealousy episode.
Yeah.
It's a
Wait,
title, right? I'm still learning from everyone else at the company.
Yeah.
But
Nice, dude.
basically it means I'm a nerd who can make stuff.
Yeah, but you're the top nerd, man. Way to go.
You're the
Well, I
senior
still
at
have
it.
an engineering manager.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I'm
nice.
um
You're one of the top
Yeah.
nerds. Way to go.
Well, there's always one
At a
on top
niche,
of the other, on top of the other.
right,
so.
right.
At a
yeah.
niche car design firm. Yeah. It's awesome.
Well, I went from a massive company to a small company.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. So we're pretty like the company is it's a really cool, fun size where our engineering team is 3.
Nice.
So there's the
Holy
3
cow.
of us, the other engineer, myself, and then our manager. We're designing all the products.
wow.
And so
That's
yeah,
gotta be
we're not forced to be as specialized.
Uh-huh.
So each of us gets to work on suspension and aerodynamics and chassis components
Individually and stuff like that, or all together?
Both. Yeah.
Oh,
like
nice.
we're we all sit in the same room in a shop. We have a small office next to a shop, and we're constantly running stuff by each other and learning from each other. I like to think I help them out sometimes, and they help me out a lot. I'm still a little new to the game right
No.
here.
But
I mean-
still, you're part of the team, and it's flowing, and it's functioning, and it's working.
Yeah,
Humongous.
I mean it's awesome. We get paid to play with really fast, expensive cars that we could never afford on our own. So
Isn't that
and to make them even better. So
That's glorious.
So what
Yeah.
Carbon does, they CARBAHN.
yes, yeah. So it's kind of like a pun on like carbon fiber and the Autobahn,
Right.
Right, and so it's like car,
And it's-
bond, Autobahn.
And you're specializing in German stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's what kind of cars are you specializing in? This
So we primarily focus on BMW,
Uh-huh.
M series especially. So we'll take a big part of what we do is we take the M series cars and make them faster
Okay.
and handle better,
yeah, because
and then make them a
Yeah.
little prettier too.
there's some room for prettiness. No offense to BMW, but
Especially lately, people have some pretty strong feelings about BMWs.
yeah, I am one of them. Yeah, I know it's especially I had a 73 2002 TII, and it was one of the most perfect little cars. And then
Yeah.
that era,
Classics.
little shark nose. Just I don't think I would add or take anything away from it.
Oh, the 70s were, I'll butt in
Yeah.
and maybe throw us on a tangent, but car design in the 70s.
This is the home of tangents, man.
This is the home of tangents.
I know like pop culture, everybody's all about the 80s or whatever, but man, the 70s were cars in the 70s were they got something so right with the styling and the design language.
Yeah.
The British coupes, the Japanese cars, a lot of the American cars were really good too.
You got a favorite European one, or maybe even a BMW that sticks out to you? Something.
Something I've had my eye on a lot, which might be a little silly though, is a Triumph Spitfire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Spitfires are like, man, I want one. A rolling chassis came up on Marketplace for $300, and I was like, I don't know if I can take on a rolling chassis right now, but I want to so bad.
That might be the cheapest way to do it.
That would be so fun.
Because then you're not diagnosing and repairing what there's already broken in there.
Yeah, especially with British cars.
Instead, you've already gone, you know what? I'm going to Miata swap this.
Right? I'm going to
Something.
take the body and the interior because those are the nice things.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I'm going to change everything else.
Right. Because it's Lucas Electrics, and they called Lucas the Prince of Darkness. Right?
Oh.
That was the old joke the old guys would say. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, there's old British cars and stuff, and the Spitfire is one of those that I can't fit in. But maybe the bigger Jensens I can fit in,
Right.
Jensen Healey's. But
Well, a lot of the cars from back then are amazing. I mean, you've got the classic Porsches, your 2000,
Yeah.
2002,
2002,
the the Japanese cars, right?
Yeah.
The Nissan Fairladies, the
Corollas.
even dude, the Honda Civic
Yeah.
looked
Yeah.
good in the 70s.
Yeah.
That 72, 74 Honda Civic
CVCC
looks so good.
wasn't it?
Yeah, the CVCC and then it became the Civic in 74.
Yeah,
I think.
something like that.
Yeah, one of our previous guests, Mark Anderson, in the Ineos episode, his dad, had the CVCC and was a salesman for them, and like drove 1 million miles in one of
Right.
those almost practically and stuff. And I remember him just always like,
I took my 76 Corolla off-roading I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a 4-cylinder, 4-speed little rear axle, rear drive. I mean,
oh yeah,
but
Yeah.
that thing was so fun.
yeah. And
So fun.
my dad's first car was a 2000 Datsun Roadster or a Datsun,
Yeah.
the 2-liter Datsun Roadster,
Right.
Fair Lady. And so it's like, I adore them all, and it's so fun. And if you get don't ever get yourself stuck into one brand. I sold.
Oh yeah.
I sold a Chevy V8 to a guy last weekend, and I pull up in my Ford truck to hand him the engine,
Chevy.
and he goes, "What's a Chevy guy doing driving a Ford?" And I'm
Right.
like, we're
Yeah.
past this now. We live in the future.
No.
It's okay.
But we're
We
not
can
past
do
it,
this.
dude. Never.
It's like, yeah.
No. It's so easy to get in those little like teams of like
Yeah.
fighting for,
Yeah. I would have said the
LS
same thing.
swap the world, which is pretty viable.
I know, yeah.
Well said.
But I appreciate you can see both sides of it. And yeah, let's swap your Spitfire. That'll be fun.
Yeah, well,
I like
so
the Miata idea too.
It might fit.
I mean, my boss has we were just out at Drift, Colorado this last weekend. I was just helping kind of pit crew for my boss who has a LS Swap 240.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, is that thing a monster.
So much fun.
Yeah, it's he's got the car really well set up, and it is a screamer of a drift car.
How fun.
I adore the idea. Yeah, those things of a 240, and it just because they have all the same basic lines. If you squint enough to make it look like an old 240, see, from the 70s. But like you go, okay, it's been updated and cyberpunked a little bit, a little bit harder lines, a little bit, and the plastic got grayer,
For all our automotive designers out there, right? The 70s got the aesthetics right.
Yeah.
Can we get back there? But like, look how successful stuff like the Ineos Grenadier,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Throwback styling,
Yeah.
modern features, modern interior. Like that does so well. I mean, imagine if Honda came out with a like a Heritage Series Civic that was a classic 70s Civic on the outside,
Right.
but with a K Series. And a modern infotainment system that just has a couple knobs, still have a couple knurled knobs on
I
there.
was going to say that the Ineos has a fighter pilot cockpit inside of it, so I think that it's gone way modern on the inside of that one. So you minimalize the Civic because that's what it was in the 70s, was minimalization. You had heat, maybe defrost,
Right.
a fan high low. So agreed.
And look at all the different specialty shops that are doing that. I recently watched I think it was a Haggerty episode on YouTube where they were looking at a company out of Canada that takes old Austin Minis and rear mounts a K-Series in it and updates the entire interior.
Yeah.
And uses like natural materials
Was it
and
like
minimalist design.
Gildred. And
I think it was.
But he's like,
But they're
wheel-drive and
incredible.
700 horsepower. He's a monster. It's insane.
And it's rear wheel drive.
Yeah, and him talking to you on the the camera, you go, this guy doesn't look like he's insane. He'd be fine, but like I bet you don't want your fingers near his mouth. He's a nut bar, man, because he's building these cars that are 7,000 horsepower and they weigh 1,900 pounds.
But isn't he doing like the super stock ones that they look like they're came off the factory?
Yeah.
But they're still powerful and fun
just
and
little
safe.
fender flares and stickers, and that's the
And
only reason you could tell.
They stop
a ton of screens and stuff, right? It's still really simple. It's still really tactile.
Right.
I adore the idea. I've told Greg that many times.
This company, Gilbert Racing.
It's not supposed to be playing.
Fixing up old
Where's the mute button?
I was just trying to find it.
He's pulling it up. But
Sorry.
I told Greg that several times. I go, let's just get in the business of Honda swapping minis, because then
swap
because he's complaining about like garage space, which is you got enough elbow room, maybe. He's got a 73 Bronco in here in and out, and it's pulled out and pulled into the garage several times a day. It's for him to work on it, but. If we were case swapping minis, we could do 4 or 5 of them in this garage.
Yeah, right.
I think we could do 2 easily.
Stack them on their bumpers.
Amen.
Hang them on the wall.
It's like, yeah, and we could save so much money on Harbor Freight garage floor jack stands.
I don't know.
Yeah.
A classic mini, you could fit sideways in here.
I think you could.
Exactly.
I think you could.
But if the jack stands gave way, it's like, what 300 pounds fell on you? No big
wall
deal.
to wall, it's 11
myself.
feet. From toolbox to wall, it's 8 feet. So I think we could fit 4 in here sideways.
I know. You could turn around. You could do a U-turn.
Actually, we could.
And you all thought Sugar was exaggerating.
We could put them on. We could put them on the downdraft tables and work on them right there,
I know.
and just keep everything clean at the
You
same
wind
time.
them up and send them on their way. Yeah, I do love the idea. Yeah,
Except that you do have to drop the subframe to do anything.
Yeah, well,
but yeah,
I have a lift, so we could do that.
and there is a company, again, probably a Canadian company, but that makes a subframe bolt-in. It's $4,500 for a Honda K series engine.
I mean, if you've got the right customer base,
Right, if
That's
you got
no
the
problem.
right, yeah. Get the
or we
market.
buy just the first one and then we 3D print the rest.
yeah, right.
Hey.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, I know that's stealing. Okay, proprietary.
So, okay, 3D print the rest. What materials do you 3D print with?
Yeah, so there's so many misconceptions about 3D printing.
Let's clear them up.
So 3D printing there's 7 main technologies that are categorized as 3D printing.
Okay.
Most people are familiar with 2 of them, which would be material extrusion printing, which is like your Anderson stuff, right? Where you have your roll of material that goes through a hot nozzle.
And then it's
built in layers on something.
yeah,
Hot Nozzle is the name of my new band.
as well
not
as
the
other
worst
things.
And then there's vat photopolymerization, which is often called stereolithography or resin printing.
All right, several unpopular band names that you just said. Okay.
Yeah. But that works by exposing a photoreactive liquid resin to a specific wavelength of UV light,
where it's in like that
And-
blue box where the light's on, and
it's in a bucket
It's
essentially
curing- the
with a
light's curing
screen
it.
at the bottom.
and the light's curing it as it's laid out.
The light cures it, and you cure it in like, hundredths of a millimeter at a time, or like 500ths of a millimeter at a time. You cure these little layers and pull them out.
And that's just a laser through the liquid or whatever.
No, that's just a screen exposure. Like it's an LED
Holy cow.
LCD screen exposure.
Okay.
The laser is lasers are used in a bunch of different methods, but the laser for resin would be direct laser projection. That photopolymerization, but it's instead of exposing a whole screen at once, you're tracing points with a laser.
Okay.
So
sense.
it rasters through the shape, whereas with a screen, you're exposing the whole shape at once.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And
So there's a variety of materials, right, that you can use. Most people, especially in the craft space, are going to use materials based on PLA or polylactic acid, which is just a super common plastic that's cheap and works really well for 3D printing.
And doing the extrusion style printing.
Yeah, doing the extrusion's the most accessible. The resin's a lot more work, but you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. But those materials, your hobby materials, they're usually strong enough for like what we call objects, right? You know, the difference between an object and a part is like an object looks cool and a part actually does something.
Yes.
ladies, and I will not be objectified anymore. Because I'm a part.
because he does things.
I want to be a part
does
of your
things,
heart,
folks.
not some object in your heart.
But those materials are really weak when it comes to temperature, right? You get those materials up to 100, 110 degrees, and they start bending and deforming and shifting, and they can't maintain their strength. And then you start to, climb the ladder of materials and get to stuff that's
If it's keep interrupting, but that if it's bending, is that the material? Is that why it's bending and melting in the sun, or is it the process of how it's cured? Or
yeah. So
can you make something stronger without making it too brittle? Is there?
It's a little different than metals, but kind of similar, because metals have a crystalline structure, right? When you heat and cool metals, you're messing with the crystalline structure, and a lot of your properties comes from that. And that's very true with metal 3D printing.
Okay.
Metal additive is beyond most people's budgetary abilities.
That was my next question. Are we doing metal printing? Yeah.
But with plastics, you don't have that crystal structure. It's a bunch of tangled chains, if you will. If you were to imagine like a bunch of wires that are all tangled together, right? They're, that rat's nest of wires is pretty strong until you pull in the right direction and it just comes apart, right? Similar sort of thing with plastics, except the higher temperature, the easier and easier it gets to pull those chains apart.
Okay.
And so you reach what's called a heat deflection temperature, is when that material will start to reshape, but it will still hold like as a part a little bit. That's when it like starts to get weak.
Okay.
Right? And then you're usually a little bit after that is when it starts to like melt or whatever, and then you're totally done for. Right? It'll fail for sure.
So those things are you're getting those items, maybe the software, whatever, for just simply a prototype that you want to show what it looks like, so you can fit it on the car.
That's
and then test
your easiest rapid prototype. It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's easy to do, and it's really good for form checking. So
You brought
I've got
some show and tell?
I've got some show and tell stuff
is,
that's just for you guys, yes. But
beautiful.
so what you see here is the fit check print of the brace that I designed for the BMW M4.
Under hood.
So this is the engine chassis brace. So this brace, this print is just a fit check,
and it's just a soft plastic to make sure that.
Yep, it's a soft plastic. I mean, you could break this easily.
I see.
But everything's in the right shape to test, do things fit together? Can I bolt it in properly?
Right.
Because how many times have you gotten apart and put it in the car and the bolt holes don't line up,
or they're just off slightly,
right?
Just slightly.
So this is this part out of carbon fiber and aluminum, which is what the final part will be, is
printed out of
thousands. No, it'll be machined and laid. It's thousands of dollars. So if our company wanted to make one, it's that. But I can print this in a day or two.
I was wondering the timeline.
This was not much.
Yeah, but
right. This was
huge piece.
under $100 to print this.
Genius.
Right? And I can fit check a multi-$1,000, what would be multi-thousands of us to make at least the first one.
Right.
Yeah, and that's maybe like, what, 3.5 feet wide or so, and then a lot of parts to it.
Does printing it like that make it easier to build secondary? Having a prototype like that built out of plastic, you can just now say, make a mold out of it and do your carbon fiber and all that stuff? Or
it depends. This is not a manufacturing aid. You can make manufacturing aids with 3D printing, but this is just to validate our CAD model.
I see. Okay.
Once this goes on, then we're going to use our CAD model to make the final version.
I see.
This is just making it, because like designing in 3D on your computer you can get a good eye for it, but no matter how good of an eye for it you have, it's still different than a physical part.
Got it.
And you sometimes you just psychologically miss the scale,
Right.
or whatever, and just having a physical part gives you that tactile experience of getting a better feel for the part and putting it on the car, making sure it lines up, right?
For example, if it doesn't need to go straight across, it needs to go bow across.
Yeah.
An engine compartment. It doesn't go flat across the compartment. It has to.
Well, and to your point of like 3D scanning and replicating something,
Right.
this started as a 3D scan. So the workflow for designing this was that we 3D scanned the part it was replacing. You can either scan the area you're working in, or the part you're replacing.
Yeah.
Right. And then I have to build a 3D model
From that scan.
That scan gives me kind of like my interfaces. Like, so in the computer, I can say, this is where this bolt hole is, and this is where, this part that I have to go around is.
And then you can actually go out there, physically measure the engine compartment, go back to your computer and say, that's actually what the measurement is, as well as after the scan. That would be like to verify the scan.
Well, you try and set up your scan to do the scan right, because if you do a scan properly, those scans are accurate to like 0.1 millimeters, right? Nice. So I can scan an entire engine bay and have everything in the engine bay to within 1/10 of a millimeter. So if I want to measure something, I'm probably measuring it in the 3D scan.
I see.
Because there's oftentimes
more accuracy.
It's more accuracy in there, because I don't have to physically fit the measuring tape around anything.
Right.
I'm just clicking the entities I want measurements on.
And then you can remove obstacles in your software, right?
So then from there, you edit the scan, get it to a place where it's workable. Then you go into CAD, and which CAD is very expensive, right, for a commercial license. And then I spend days modeling this.
Right.
And then I get to a point where I'm happy with it and we think we want to pursue making it. That's when I 3D print it.
I see.
And I 3D print it and I go put it on the car. And we double check everything lines up. Like, everything should be good, but we want to check before we spend thousands of dollars making this part.
Absolutely.
And so we fit check it, we validate it, and then we start making it out of the what we want to make it out of for the final part.
Have you heard of MasterTech, the expo, usually in Arizona, where they do CADs, 3D scanning, printers?
Loosely. I haven't been to many trade shows.
Oh, that's the only reason why I know anything about this conversation right now. Is because I went to one MasterTech in 2022, I believe it was. Yeah. And that's the only reason why I know what Fusion 360 is, what a 3D printer is.
Yeah.
The handheld scanners and stuff.
But doesn't it make you think, because being a body man and everything else for, and hot rods and everything else, and getting some LKQ part that's been stamped out, and then based off of a 1972 Oldsmobile or whatever, and now it's supposed to fit your brand new or your Oldsmobile that you're working on.
Right.
And so it was always taken off of one car back in the 70s, and now you're working with it 45 years later or whatever, and or 50 years later.
And it's punched out 700,000 panels.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and none of them fit. It's like, okay, I'd rather get an original one and original piece off of a wrecked car, and then
fix the rust hole and put it on.
Always want it rather have OEM, and then versus, because they're taking molds off of that one and then transferring it into a stamp off of one particular car. So, and it's supposed to fit 1,000 cars. Some of the things you've got to feel grateful for is that you're working on German cars that two of them are alike, each other, one to the other. And I imagine that, but how?
Well, one of the coolest things about what I work on is they're new.
Yeah.
The cars we're working on, I'm working on, like, right now I'm working on cars that are 2022 models, whereas I've never owned anything with less than 150,000 miles.
Right. Exactly.
So, when I go and take a upright or something off of, say, a M2 or an Audi RS5, right? Brand new, very expensive, nice car. But the coolest thing is because it's new, when I take that bolt out, it comes out.
Right.
Whereas, with my 2008 WRX, when I went to swap the coilover, right, the suspension bolt is seized.
Yeah.
I torched it. I put plenty of chemicals on it.
Right.
I put an impact on it. I put a 3-foot breaker bar on it. It's not, I took a grinder to it. That's the only way it's coming off, right?
Yeah.
You don't run into that with new cars. So that's really nice.
You do it if they're new Subarus, though. You don't have those issues. Oh, well, thank you for justifying this, and I appreciate you coming on to the
Do we want to get into Subaru stories now?
I'm just shaking my head right now. Just shaking my head.
No, I mean, okay. Oh, what are you working on this weekend, dude?
Well, tomorrow
Say it.
I'm doing axle boots on a Subaru Legacy tomorrow.
Axle boots never break on any other cars. That's for sure.
Never.
Justified.
Rubber never dries out in Colorado.
Never.
No, I'm doing hail damage on what kind of car soon? A Subaru. Yeah, exactly. Only damage those tinfoil thin Subarus. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Psycho.
Somebody with a Subaru touched me bad in a bad
Well,
place.
actually, let's
Show me on the doll.
let's get back to the
Show me on
3D
the
printing
Justy.
for a little bit.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Right back at it.
So misconceptions about 3D printing is that
It's simple and easy, and you just have to scan and go.
yeah, well, there's a lot of misconceptions about how easy it is, right?
Yeah.
Like honestly, it takes similar to how we put love and time and effort into cars, 3D printers can be the same way, right? It's still machinery in that it takes dialing of the settings and maintenance of all the moving parts and understanding
sympathy.
your machine and how different settings affect what it does. Right, so especially
That makes sense.
the big difference between industrial printers and hobbyist printers is an industrial printer, you hit go and it works. A hobbyist printer, you hit go and it works when it's new, and then a couple hours later you got to start tweaking things.
I know. That's why. I've always wanted to just get into it because I'm like, well, that would be the path I'd go down. 3D printing, and then seeing Thomas Kearney building stuff next to me at Pinky's.
Well, when I saw one out in Utah, that was the most amazing thing. I saw they're printing center consoles with logos and.
But yeah, the stuff you guys are building is magic.
Yeah.
Is magic, you know, especially when it comes to guys, who are hitting metal with hammers, all day, literally.
Right. Well, but metal shaping, right? That's a totally one of the beautiful things about 3D printing for me is like my artistic ability is not there, right? I
was different.
I'd say I'm more of a craftsman and not an artist when it comes to shaping things. In that, like, if I were right, you guys know.
I'm exactly the same.
That the shaping of metal, like getting the right roll or the shape or the curvature in a piece of metal takes a lot of practice, a lot of skill, a lot of learning. And it's you're sculpting the metal.
Yes.
You really are. And so the big advantage of 3D printing for people like me is I'm really bad at that. I'm really bad at sculpting things, but I'm really good at making things and understanding the material processes and the machinery and the parameters of making the like technical side of things and less of the artistic feel side of things.
But the fact that you understand the molecular structure of metal tells me that I could teach you how to shape metal. So
I could get there eventually.
I think your artistic side is there. It's just not as developed as your
you're putting
manufacturing
yourself
side.
down for.
Maybe.
I mean, some of the stuff I've seen you build.
If you could 3D print a Mandalorian helmet, for fuck's sake, dude, come on, that takes an artist to do that.
You're not just copying and pasting things, dude. This is a big deal that you're doing. So don't discount yourself on
Yeah,
that.
because that is a piece of art laying there on my creeper there.
We're all jealous looking at this stuff too, man. This is huge, and
And the fact that you can print your own nuts.
Yeah, what's that hanging off of the back of your Toyota?
Oh, okay. So
I have my notes too, but they're on the
yeah.
wall in retirement because I don't have a vehicle.
So the nuts on my Prius. Let's get into that story. The Prius story is preluded by a Subaru story.
Prelude. He's got a Honda in there too.
Oh, I wish I had a Prelude. A Prelude. I want to build a Prelude at some point.
That'd be fun.
Every sane person does.
All-wheel drive Prelude, thank you.
That would be fun.
Rear engine.
Hu-
steer.
Or hear me out. A hybrid. K series in the front, hub motors in the rear.
Yes. Yes, there are some nut
All-wheel
bars
drive hybrid.
who
That
make
could be pretty good.
That'd be delicious, dude. So much fun. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there are some nut bars out there who do the in-wheel motor, with that have it routed to your throttle pedal when it's a fly-by-wire thing. There was a demo car going
Well, you don't
around
even
last
necessarily
gen.
need a fly-by-wire
Type R,
if it's augmenting your gas system, right?
Right.
Because you can just build the system to understand what the gas engine's doing
Amen.
and take inputs from there,
Right.
and then augment it,
Yeah.
right?
See,
We're wasting our
you're the
time.
guy
Let's
that
do
can
this
do
now.
that, but I'm not the
No,
guy.
we're wasting our time. Let's do this right now.
I could assemble it for you, but you'd have to program it, okay?
I have a friend who's asking me BMW questions for you to answer later.
no.
But,
Nice.
it's fun.
So Subarus,
Dude, they've just hurt so many people that I love.
yeah. So my first Subaru was bought because it's funny because I was living in Japan for a little bit, and the guy I was living with was a big car guy too, and we're watching Mighty Car Mods.
Heck yeah.
And they're working on the S2000 this is while they were working on their S2000.
Nice.
And I was absolutely in love with it. I was like, I want an S2000. And so I get home and I'm going to buy, my first car was a 99 Honda Civic that I bought for $800 from my brother-in-law's older brother.
Perfect.
Right. And I bought it with 285,000 miles.
I had a 98 red two-door hatchback.
Yeah. And so I drove that all the way through high school and college. And at the end of college, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to buy a car.
Right.
It's not just the cheapest thing I could get my hands on.
Right.
And so I was looking around, and it ended up being between a 06 Volvo S60R
Okay.
a S2000. I think it was an AP1 S2000 and a 2008 WRX hatchback.
Oh.
And
That's an interesting selection.
Yeah. That would take some time to figure out.
they're all about 300-ish horsepower.
Yeah.
Right.
No, they're good direct.
Two are all-wheel drive, one's rear-wheel drive.
Right.
And you had a sedan, a convertible, and a hatchback. So it was an interesting cross-section, right? But the Volvo sold before I could get to it. I went and test drove the S2000, and it was a military guy who had brought it back from Germany. And when he had it in Germany, it was like a track car that he took to the Nürburgring.
Wow.
So it had a bunch of carbon fiber on it. It was tuned. It was lowered, and it had a racing clutch in it. And test driving it,
Doesn't seem like a daily driver.
I could not see around or over anything. Like, it was so low. I just driving on the road, like if there was anything, more than 2 feet off the ground, I couldn't see over it. And the clutch was
so that's about right.
the
That's how you wanna
clutch
do
was
it.
super abrupt, right? It was one of those light switch clutches.
Yeah.
It was, I'm sure it was a fun track car, but this was supposed to be my daily driver living in Black Forest, Colorado.
Oh, you can't do that, Carl.
So yeah, I'm out a couple weeks of the year if that's my daily driver, right? Because of snow. So as much as I really liked that car,
the hatchback.
I ended up going with the WRX because it was sporty and it was practical.
Yeah, it does everything.
And it's all-wheel drive. And
Right, and that's the appeal of the WRX and the STI, especially the hatchback, is they're so ridiculously fun and useful.
right.
You can fit 8-foot lumber in a WRX hatchback.
Oh, really?
Isn't that amazing?
And you can put a hitch on it and you can tow some stuff. And you can pull people out of ditches.
That's only a class 1 hitch, though.
You know?
All right.
I have a class 3 hitch on my STI.
Oh,
Yeah.
But so
How well do the WRXs doing or the STIs doing tractor pulls? I mean, is it a big
Full
is it a
pull.
big case for it?
Yeah.
Full pull? Are they full
pull.
pull now? Good. That's great.
depends.
Yeah.
How long do you want the frame to last?
Yeah. Well,
right. It's only one
only
pull, but it gets a full pull.
Yeah, only the pass. Only the one pass. Enough to make a statement.
So that WRX blew the head gaskets, as they do. And I was driving home from work and I was down to 2 cylinders and I was struggling to accelerate at all. And I was like, it's time to rebuild this. So it was my first car engine to rebuild. And it was pretty cool. It obviously took way longer than I thought it would, but it was a really good process. And then after I built it, I was like, or rebuilt the engine and put it back in and everything was working. I was like, man, I want to make this better.
Yeah.
And I started making my laundry list of, the things that I wanted to do to it. I was like, really,
Air quotes improvements.
right. Yeah. I pretty much just wanted to turn it into an STI. So I started looking at what's the cost of making a WRX into an STI versus buying an STI.
Right.
And I found, because I love hatchbacks, I found a 2009 World Rally Blue STI hatchback. That was decently affordable.
That's the holy grail, man.
Right. So I bought it, and I actually had both of them for a couple of weeks.
Nice.
So I have a picture of my WRB Blue hatchback 08 WRX next to my WRB Blue hatchback 09 STI
Oh, man.
for a while.
That's great.
And so then my car is the STI. Fast forward, I get married, have a kid. We're looking for a family car. We get we really wanted a station wagon, really like station wagons. We're looking at, we test drove a Volvo, what is it?
XC90.
XC70,
Yeah.
like a 2008. And, this is one of those cars doing all the research going in. I'm like, this is such a cool car. I'm going to love it.
They are.
You test drive it and you're like, I hate it.
Yeah. I know.
I hate it. You just you sometimes you get in the car and no matter how much you want to love the car,
Yeah.
you're like this does not work for me.
It doesn't
Right.
sync up. Yeah, I know. And this, if you sit in them, then
Yeah.
you just feel them. And I had, the little hatchback, the C30 Volvo.
Yes.
I found
Ooh, C30Rs look like so much fun.
Yeah, it was a R design or whatever they called it, and it was a stick shift and everything. And I was like going, when I was an auto broker, I had one on the lot, and I took it out, and I was like going, and and I thought this was going to be the coolest thing ever because it should have been. The seats are so comfortable. I love Volvo seats. I miss Volvo seats. I'm going to buy Volvo seats and just put them
Put them in your F-150.
in everything. And because I think Recaro or in the the Swedes just do it right. I don't know, but it's and even working at Mercedes or an Audi, I loved the Volvo seats. I pined for them, but that C30 had no soul. It was something wrong with it. I was like, I can't have fun with this. It's like a little.
There's a Volvo person out there that's very angry at you right now.
Yeah, that's okay. We can talk. Well, I mean,
So angry. I don't know why, though.
but it's that C30. Well, I don't know what it was. But it was totally stock.
I had so much fun in Mike's XC90.
Yeah,
That thing was fun.
that SUV. Yeah, it has a V8. It has a little bit more.
It had a V8, and you punch it, and the front
peppy.
tires are.
Is that like
Let's
some kind of
go.
Yamaha V8 or something like that?
Man, that thing was fun.
Yamaha engineering thing.
But I can understand. I sat in and I was like, this seems a little throw it in gear. Okay, it's fun to drive, kind of, but it's still just not necessarily what I would own. Not
I don't
necessarily.
know. Yeah, but like the GTI kind of clicked with me
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
That WRX, my cousin Matthew, he had a WRX. I think he still does actually. And driving it, I'm going, oh, I get it. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's so much fun to drive.
This is a blast. And he took me out and his little brother. We went to see Fast and Furious, and he's driving
Of course.
way too fast to go there, and even faster coming back, obviously, because now you're
Usually they're
inspired.
fast on the way back,
Yeah, exactly. It was.
or they think they're fast.
It was probably one of the best nights of
Oh,
my life.
now I know how to race. Let's go.
Yeah, one of my best.
Where's
nights
my
of life.
15th gear?
Yeah, exactly, dude. It was so good. It was so much fun because younger cousin Ryan in the back, and he's smiling and having a good time, and he's just like, yep, just 3 cousins out watching movies, having a good time, and it was so wonderful. It was. I never laughed so hard with him, and I don't know, it was the best night of my life hanging out with.
Oh, that's
him.
awesome.
But yeah, and so that's a redeeming value of a WRX, but also the engine blew on that thing. Everything
Right.
else is whatever. So I mean, come on. There's other ways to have that special moment, I think.
So the
stop
we're looking at station wagons,
Yes.
right? And we look at we found a Outback 3.6R that
Yeah.
we really liked.
Great.
We test drove it. It was nice, but I'm looking under the car and I'm seeing some stuff that makes me concerned. So we take it over to Subaru Doctor in Commerce City, who they're awesome. If anybody that has a Subaru, shameless pitch for them. They're really cool.
Absolutely.
But they inspected it and they're like, hey, this particular leak is like a warning sign of something that fails in the heads of this specific engine.
Is it a Subaru?
That's
badge?
super expensive to replace.
We're not going to buy it.
So we were like, nope, that's out.
Right?
We're not going to buy that one. And they had this 2009 Forester that they had just, the engine had seized from oil starvation. And they had just replaced the engine with a lower mileage engine and done some work on it. And it was in good condition. They had just refreshed it, and it was the price that we were looking at. So we left with a car from them, and it's a great car.
Perfect.
But we put 35,000 miles on it the first year we had it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we did a lot of driving, and in January. So we're up to this year, right?
Right.
In January, I take it in because it had like 3 or 4 recalls that had never been done on it. The Takata airbag recall and the like 3rd passenger seatbelt or something like that.
Locking prematurely or something. Whatever,
The little stuff like that. There was like some hidden nut on a brake line that had a tendency to rust if you're in the Northeast. Okay. But while they were doing that, the mechanic who actually did a really good inspection, which I tend to have terrible experiences with dealers, but this guy actually did a great inspection and was like, just made me a laundry list of here are the things that are going out. And one of them was head gaskets, right? Like your head gaskets are blowing. It was leaking over the bottom. Like he showed me stuff and I was like, yeah, that's definitely what happened. Right. So I'm taking the engine out of her car. I'm going down the list of all this stuff. I pull her engine, I pull the heads off, and there's a stuck valve. And so I call up a reputable Subaru engine shop in Denver. I'm like, hey, I've got an EJ253 that just blew the head gaskets. It's at about 110,000 miles and it's got a stuck valve, right? Like if I just service the heads and put new head gaskets on it, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And he's like, it'll work for 30,000 miles.
Yeah.
And then it'll fail again.
Just like it just did.
Well,
He's
you got
like,
a whole
so
year until that happens, though. That's great.
And he's like, I know. And he was like, so you can spend like $1,500 and put it back together now.
Right.
Or I can make you a reman engine for about $3,000 and you can put it in and that'll be good for 125,000 miles.
Yeah. So.
Right. And so I was like, okay, so I got a long block from the guy, right? Traded my engine to him, got a long block, installed that. That car's working great. But the day I finished installing that long block in the Forester and got it working, my STI blows the head gaskets.
Oh, you poor man.
Isn't that ironic?
So now I'm out a bunch of cash, just finished fixing the family car. And I was like, I really don't want to deal
Yeah.
with rebuilding another EJ right now.
Yeah. I'm done with doing this.
So, and I started looking at cars. I was like, I want a good, reliable, cheap commuter to be my car while I'm planning and doing the rebuild on the STI.
Yeah.
And that's how, after trying to buy 6 other cars and it falling through,
Wow.
I ended up with a Toyota Prius 5.
Dude. Yeah.
6 other cars?
I really didn't want to buy a Prius. It was the only thing that worked out.
That's
So
so,
there's
funny.
6 other stories to this Prius.
And that's why
yeah.
you got printed truck nuts underneath it.
Yeah.
So is what we were asking.
Okay, so to paint an image for the viewers or listeners here, it's a 2016 Prius 5, which is the larger hatchback version of the Prius.
They are funky.
It is on a 2-inch body lift from the previous owner
Nice.
with plasti-dipped wheels,
Perfect.
red painted calipers,
Makes sense.
5% tinted windows.
They are
Cliche.
5%, man.
Cliche
It
for a
is.
reason.
It's so dark. I have to roll down the windows
Yeah.
at night just to
Yes.
see out.
Yes.
And it has a EK Civic wing
Yep.
Yeah.
on the back, a pair of 3D printed truck nuts because it's lifted,
Nice.
and it's just my meme car now. And a titanium and carbon fiber exhaust tip.
Heck yeah, dude. And you've done no engine mods or anything like that.
No, well, I bought it. I was like, this is my cheap car
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I'm not going to touch.
Right.
Right? And
Just
it
leave it
came
alone.
with the lift and the tint and everything. I'm just going to leave it alone.
Yeah.
And then after I've been thoroughly teased for about a month by my coworkers for showing up to a performance shop in a Prius.
Yeah. Amen, dude.
With a Civic wing.
Right. Well, no, my boss says, hey, a friend of mine was going to throw away something, but I grabbed it. And he walks in with this EK Civic wing that is the same color
Nice.
as the Prius. And so about an hour later,
It's on the car.
it's mounted into the car and it looks stupid good. It should not fit it follows the body lines.
fits.
It
Yeah, we walked
mounted
out and
up
saw it,
well.
yeah.
I can't argue.
When you open the hatch, the tips of the wing follow the body lines as it
Good.
opens.
Yeah.
Who know? If there's anyone out there that comes across a Prius 5, throw an EK Civic wing on it.
Dude.
Street cred.
Absolutely.
So, but it's funny because it's the Prius is probably one of the most hated vehicles in the world.
Oh, man.
People love to hate on it.
So many jokes.
But living with one for a while, I was saying this before, it's the most stupidly utilitarian vehicle that I've had. Because it's not interesting to drive, right? There's few things in the world more disappointing than putting your foot down in a Prius. But it gets good gas mileage.
Right?
It's well composed. Like, it's not a sports car, but it handles pretty well.
They drive well.
It has decent feedback. Like, the car that I've driven that I've hated the most for the pure soullessness and disconnected feeling of the drive was a 2018 Chevy Malibu.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
It was,
Yeah, I get it.
oh my gosh. I was driving the car and I was like, I hate this so much because I feel absolutely no connection with the vehicle.
Right.
Like, when I give it inputs, it does things, but they feel so disconnected
Right.
that it's like,
You're waiting for this.
Yeah.
You're seeing
I don't
if it's
know.
gonna
I was
do
like,
that. Yeah.
I had to. It was a friend's dad's car that I was driving from location to location for him, and I was like, man,
I know.
wow, what a shame.
I'm not going to do that again. You're making
But yeah,
payments on this?
the Prius is so much better than that car.
Yeah, it's a more interesting engineering case or whatever you want to say too.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, there's a lot going on here. And it all works because it could be more complicated than a Malibu, but a 2018 Malibu. But it would because you have two systems working, but for some reason Toyota's just got it figured out where they're both reliable as heck. So they
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen people listing Prius 5s with 450,000 miles on them,
Right.
and they're still in good condition.
yeah, for
When-
sure.
Like they're just unkillable.
Some of them have just 1 or 2 battery changes, but they're still
Yeah.
going and going and
Well,
going.
and the battery pack in those things, it's not that expensive. It's like 150 pounds. It's
Yeah.
really small. It's right under the back seat.
yeah.
Right.
Like it's not much,
Right.
right?
Well, that's Toyota's case too for staying with hybrid now and not go full hardcore electric, because they keep saying, like, the Mr. Toyota himself is saying, like, that
God bless him for this.
that you can make 4 or 5 hybrids
Easily.
out of the batteries versus one battery. If
Gosh,
I
you
use
can-
battery pack,
You
for
can make
full
like
electric.
20 Priuses out of a Tesla,
Yeah,
Probably.
big old battery pack.
right?
Yeah,
Especially
Tesla.
like a Prius 5, right?
Yeah.
You're talking a 150-pound battery pack. You know,
Right.
it's got however many cells, but it's, the whole battery pack is like 2.5 feet long.
You're going to
Yeah.
put a class 3 hitch on this one too?
But yeah, but GM's like thinking now is of the the Hummer EV and the new Silverado EV, which looks like an Avalanche. Which
The
is
Hummer
an
looks so cool.
is is that it's 4,000 pounds or something for that battery. It's like, okay, you want
Yeah.
range? We got range. We'll get a bigger tank.
So
So
we
it's
really
like,
need a renaissance in battery technology
yeah,
for sure.
some solid state stuff, and that'll come out. That'll start happening soon, and that's a Toyota thing too.
Yeah.
Because once they hit like,
Salt-based batteries.
I mean, yeah, because new internal combustion cars will definitely, the sales will start plummeting once they hit like 800 miles on a charge. It has to be twice as good as a gas car, I think.
I agree with that statement
Yeah.
to a certain extent, yeah.
I don't know.
It
Like,
depends on how much it costs to recharge for 800 miles.
right? People get so up in arms one way or the other about EVs.
Yeah,
I love them.
yeah,
I love combustion cars too. To me, it's like it's a different power plant. It's different characteristics.
right.
Right? What do you want out of it? I've always been a fan of EVs from a performance perspective, because for sprint cars, they're unbelievable. I mean, look at what they're demolishing time attack records all over the world.
Right.
Because in a sprint car, the power that you can put down and how smooth it is phenomenal. And I know you lose the visceralness of the sound of the engine and the vibrations, but you also gain, granted, this is if the car's made well, you gain an incredible sense of connectedness and precision with everything else. It's easier to feel the tires. It's easier to feel the steering. There's more nuance to those other inputs because you're not processing the sound and the vibrations.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Okay.
It's like with Redshift motorcycles when they first made their electric hard enduro bike.
Okay.
They put guys on, I think it was like a Yamaha or a KTM, send them around a track for a while. These are pro drivers,
Okay.
right? And then they put them on a Redshift and sent them around the track. And the guys came back with this reaction of like, we could feel so much more. Like you could feel so much more going on in the suspension and in the tires as they're digging through turns and coming over whoops and whatnot.
Right.
And they get back and they're like, it felt amazing. It was really cool, but man, it felt so much slower. And they said, let's look at your track times.
Yeah.
All these guys were a second or two faster on the electric bike.
That's great.
Interesting.
Right? So that sound and that vibration gives you the sensation of speed
Yeah.
that you don't get that same sensation, right? That's the thing about like classic cars feel so much faster than they are
Amen, dude.
because there's that meme
Amen.
that went around Facebook.
Yeah.
That's the C3 Corvette next to a Tesla, and he's like, "I'll race ya," and the guy in the Corvette's like, kid, your mom's Altima's faster. I don't care. And he does a burnout as he turns away.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not in it for the speed with cars like that.
No,
Right.
that was a famous car and driver thing too, where they took a Honda Odyssey versus all the '70s muscle cars and beat it around a track.
Right.
Beat them all the '70
Yeah.
Cudas and everything
Yeah.
else. It's like,
Or like a Ford Fiesta.
yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
like,
It's not the point though. It's the
we understand.
screaming
But
motor.
would you
it's the-
rather have
And
a Challenger RT or a Odyssey? You know?
amen. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it'd be a Challenger.
but yeah, so it's tough, and I do appreciate all of it too, but and I hate the artificial sounds that are coming out with electric cars and how loud a parking lot in California can be with all these electric cars. It's like it'd be quieter if you all had gas engines because they all have to have that regulated like wah sound coming around. Yeah, and maybe that'll eventually be engineered where you can appreciate it. But if you watched Le
Rap
Mans,
song as a car.
yeah, if you watch Le Mans and everybody's talking about the Cadillac hybrid because it has a big old naturally aspirated V8, but it starts out in electric mode, and
then it
from the pits.
roars as it leaves.
But the electric mode even sounds cool because it's this mechanical whirring gear sound. That's this. And
Sure,
then,
the natural sound.
yeah, natural sound, and then as it goes, and then a couple of 100 yards down the pit lane, you hear this kapow, and then it fires to life. It's like that is so much
Then
drama.
thunder leaves the track.
So yeah, so
Awesome.
the fun will not die off. It'll
Right.
change, and it'll be interesting and crazy to
what
the future.
makes a good driver's car? Right? What is it that because can you have a car that has a rambunctious super loud V8 that's a terrible car?
Hey, watch the cursing, okay? But yes, you can without saying rambunctious.
Bulbous.
Seriously, Greg.
Sorry. Sorry.
But yeah, I think that having,
That's those dual overhead cam V8s.
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that having those rambunctious bulbous V8s it's fun. I mean, but yeah, sensations and elevating sensations is always
One
a big
user
deal.
has entered the chat.
But yeah, elevating sensations and having fun or whatever that you can do because. Yeah, the slow car, fast, or whatever else things of
Right.
of do you want to put high grip? What are you trying to accomplish? Do you want to put really fat tires that make the steering number, or do you want to have some liveliness and these little bicycle tires around on your Miata, flying around? So
Yeah.
It all goes back to, I think, if the sound is there, it makes you feel like you're going faster. When I'm in the 76 Corolla, you feel like you're going 700 miles an hour when you're going 80 down the highway.
Right.
It's just a matter of perception when you're in the particular vehicle. If those electric vehicles can make you feel like you can accelerate,
Right.
you can feel and hear the motor accelerate when you're in the electric, I think you could have the same
Right.
amount of fun, the same amount of enjoyment and visceral experience, if you
Yeah.
will.
yeah, 30
So-
miles an hour on a skateboard is a lot more fun than 30 miles an hour in a metro
dump
bus.
truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dump trucks are fun. So I was going to say metro bus.
Dump trucks
Depends.
are so
Are you the
fucking
guy
fun.
hanging on the outside?
Sometimes, man. We've all fantasized about being a trash guy. haven't we?
Only time I'm on the inside is when I lose rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, yeah.
Then I have to drive that time.
Yeah, but okay, so then with Carbon, I mean, this
Yeah.
is Steve
Oh, yeah.
Dinan is involved in this. This is his company, right? Steve Dinan?
Yes.
And
Yep. Yeah. He's our founder.
and Steve Dinan got his start in BMW racing. Is that right?
He's to the BMW people. He's a living legend.
Absolutely, he is. And you could buy a Dinan modified car from the dealership at BMW. It said that it had a Dinan badge on there, had special trims and everything else. But sometimes you guys had like engines with roller bearings in the crank. I mean, and you had some really nutty engineering in the engine, and the car didn't look anything different than the
Right.
other one.
Right. Well, that's kind of the BMW thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? right? BMWs are understated visually, but they're incredible performance-wise.
Yeah.
Right, like especially as an outsider coming into the BMW world, right? Because I wasn't like a BMW fanboy before I came to Dynan, right? To Carbon. The thing that attracted to me to Carbon was the engineering and the performance and the work and stuff. Like I didn't, I'm looking up who Steve Dynan is on, right before I go to the interview.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, holy cow, like this is a big deal.
Right.
It was just like, I didn't know this is what I was walking into. But what my, one of my boss's favorite things to say is Steve has probably forgotten more about cars than we'll ever know.
Amen.
Yeah.
Like that guy is a genius, and him just telling stories of like, this is, what we did to this engine in this race series and this car, and we found this efficiency here, and this, we gained this like 0.5% increase here and there, and all these things added up, and that's why we won, right? And going through all the different, like, this is what this technology is, and this is how you set up suspension, and this is how you tune an engine. Like he knows everything about cars. It's ridiculous. And he doesn't just know it, like he's done it. He's raced. He's an incredible driver. He has that feel and that understanding. When he talks to race car drivers, he's talking race car driver. Like he does not, he can communicate on a peer level with professional race car drivers, and then also on a peer level with engineers.
You guys probably have a big trophy cabinet there at your shop too, huh?
Yeah, there's a cabinet at the shop. There's a cabinet at his house. There's cabinets at the drivers' houses.
Yeah. I mean, it's because there's so many legendary races and things that he's run and series, but yeah, I always loved it. And if I ever saw a BMW with a Dynan badge on there, even if it was, it's like, it just went such a huge extra level that, this guy knows what he's talking about, you know, because he spent the extra cash to get this far more developed, you go, I'm going to get a BMW, a brand new one. Yeah. It's like, but it's not good enough. Let's get it developed more and more niche, to what I want.
Well, even the BMW engineers, right? They still have to make cost-driven decisions and company-driven decisions. Like, you're not, unless you're paying like $2.5 million for a car. Right. There have been cost-cutting decisions made in it.
Yeah, you can't have no compromise daily driver like a Prius 5.
That's just on its own level.
Yeah, that's not for everyone. Not the faint of heart.
But like the advantage we have is we're standing on giant shoulders, right? Like you can, as an engineer, you can always improve something. I don't think I will ever step away from something and say that's perfect. It will be great. It'll be good.
There's always somebody that can make it better.
It's good given the criteria that was put into it, right? Like you can, given more time and more resources, you can always make something better. Yeah. Right. And so that's where Carbon steps in with like M series cars, is we take an incredible platform that comes from BMW and we get to put more time and more money and more in development into things that they maybe didn't get the opportunity to before the car came.
Or they had to,
right? Or they had to, right? So we get to take things like chassis braces that are, cast metal, and they do their job,
but they're still flexible.
They're cost effective, and they do not look good, right? And so if you open the engine bay on a BMW M8, there is a chassis brace that goes between the strut tower and the front
radiator support.
Yeah, the radiator support, right? And it goes around the air intake. And that's actually this other print here I have is a 3D print of the replacement that I designed for it.
Nice.
Right. And so I take BMW's part, which is a cost-effective part that's functional, but just it doesn't look like it belongs in the engine bay of an M8.
Right.
Right. So then I take that and I design it out of CNC machined aerospace grade aluminum. And it is 30% lighter, significantly stronger, and it looks really sexy in the engine bay too.
Yeah, perfect.
Which is
Right.
what most people want.
Right? So if you have an M8 and you're going to spend money on putting something in the engine bay, it has to be functional. That's bare minimum. But
Right.
it also needs to look good.
Right.
Right? And that's, especially for performance cars like M Series cars, that's one of the big draws to carbon fiber. It's really strong. It's very functional, but it also looks really cool, right? Because on a race car, they're probably just going to throw in a easily replaceable, like welded metal piece, right? Because their concern is, as long as like you're within the specifications for the series,
Yes.
you're concerned with it being functional
Yes.
and easy to replace is kind of a big thing on race cars. But when you have a high performance street car, you can add more of that artistic aspect of, I want it to be functional and I also want it to be gorgeous.
Aesthetically awesome.
Man, yeah, gorgeous sells parts, man. And if you can't connect to it because it's,
A gremlin looking thing.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. And it's like, then, yeah, I mean, there's so much utility in beauty that it makes you more enthusiastic about the thing at a visceral level. So you'll tend to spend more time on the development and
Right.
and you'll sell more of the product too if it's pleasing to the eye. You
Yes.
know,
Hey, well, I mean, God made us to appreciate beauty, right? He didn't just dump us in a boring, terrible world.
No, it's
Right?
nice. It's really
No,
nice.
he gave us the ocean and the mountains and animals that are absolutely incredible. Like
all the different colors that go along with all
the
that.
colors, everything. Like God made an artistically beautiful world, and there's something special about making something beautiful.
amen.
Right? A beautiful, like why do we turn to art? Why do we care about cars, right? Why do we care about cars beyond the Prius, right? Because the Prius is a good car,
The pinnacle of
right?
design.
Right?
It's utilitarian
Right, yeah.
even.
It's been optimized and maximized so much, right? But given the chance, anyone listening to this and any of us here would have an M car or a classic car over that Prius.
Yeah,
Of course.
And part of it's performance, but a lot of picking between cars is also the beauty. Like
Yeah.
McLarens.
Well, and
oh
also,
my
like,
gosh,
the
McLarens are gorgeous.
Yeah, but the backlit
Every one of them.
the backlit sun coming down at a low level, just shining through all that smoke billowing out of your Alfa Romeo, you know, on the side of the road. It's like you still love the thing, you know. But yeah,
I was gonna say, is this tire smoke or engine smoke we're talking
yeah,
about?
exactly. No, exactly. But I mean, it means something.
Is it
means something.
overheating? What's happening?
But yeah, I agree with you that McLarens were challenging, especially that 720 when it first came out with those sunken in headlights or whatever. And
Yeah.
now it's like I've seen it. You see them painted, that eye socket thing painted body color. Now I hate it. You know, if I go, no, go back to where it was.
No, go
and
back.
then 750S just updated it a little bit. And it's like, no, go back. So yeah. It's so fun. I love the controversial thing, and I think that's a lot too with design is so important now, and I think it will be. I think we're way out of the malaise era of things getting boxy and gray. I think we're
Cough, the 80s.
we're gonna exactly
And the teens, the 20 teens.
and I think that we're gonna get back into really design pushing hard and going different directions
Yeah.
that are controversial and fun and beautiful because flat, low skateboard chassis electric car gives you a lot of space to play with, you know?
Right.
And a
So
lot
much
of
room for activities.
Well,
so much
that's
room for
the-
activities and packaging. Yeah, exactly.
That's the beauty of
A designer would
Lucids.
say.
Have you guys driven a Lucid?
No, but I've seen one pull up in the hot rod shop parking lot, and I
I've only heard stories.
grabbed everybody out of Pinky's and said, "Come on, go look at this thing." And
Well,
they go, "What the heck is going on here?" I go, "This
Yeah.
thing has 1,000 horsepower, and it's amazing."
Right. Lucid, I really hope Lucid succeeds because
Yeah.
I've done a ton of research into their platform. platform. I've actually thought about swapping a Lucid powertrain into the STI.
Yeah.
That would be, if I did not have monetary restrictions,
Sure.
I would do that. I'd keep the manual all-wheel drive system,
Right.
but I'd just replace the power plant with the Lucid power plant.
Interesting.
And some auxiliary features and stuff. But the design in that, they did a good job of designing the car and trying to really do beautiful engineering with all of it. Like, it's the way they take advantage of things and do things that seem unorthodox until you see them, and then they just make sense. And driving the car and feeling how it acts. It's a really cool car. And the fact that
too?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, I test drove one. It was a really good time with my son too in the back seat. He loved it. And what fun fact? When we took him back from the hospital, the only sound he would fall asleep to was the rumble of the STI.
Yeah.
So I'd play like STI, acceleration compilations for him to fall asleep. It was great.
That's such a wonderful...
I used to take my kids for drives to get them to go to sleep, but that was in a Blazer with a V8 454.
Yeah, I fall asleep on the highway on the way over here. Yeah.
Right. Lucid wants to come out with their new car that's on the more affordable scale.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be more connected.
Okay.
And it's rear wheel drive.
Okay.
Right. So, like, getting back to the what makes a driver's car and how do we maintain good cars in the electric or hybrid era? Right. Aside from synthetic fuels, which are awesome, please let's make that a thing.
Amen.
The way you maintain that is maintaining a connectedness to the driving.
Okay.
Right. So I don't care how advanced technology gets. I want a steering wheel that is manually connected to my steering rack. Because I want to feel the vibrations and the jerks and those inputs. I want to know with my hands what's happening to the tires more than just the degree of turn.
What if they can replicate that, though?
Right?
What if you can get that feedback
Well,
electrically?
if they replicate... The issue with replicating that is that it's synthetic, right? Anytime that you pull away from or let's say organic connection to something like an actual physical, anytime you're replicating something and trying to synthetically reproduce it, you will lose aspects of it.
Okay.
Right? You'll never reach full fidelity.
I was just thinking of
Right.
like how the controllers in video games have the
vibrations and things.
I would think that technology would be to the point when we're driving cars like that are that nice that it would tell you you hit this, you hit that, you would feel it.
You could get close,
cancel
maybe,
it or have it.
but you're also going to lose other things. Like you're also going to. I mean, what if the other thing that's an issue? I think is how much we're automating and outsourcing control. Right. I would love an electric vehicle that is a completely closed network system. I do not want my vehicle connecting to or communicating with an external system unless I tell it to.
Liberty, come on. Yes. Okay.
Right?
Sorry. Yeah, we had this on the last
Right.
podcast.
Yeah. Another one.
But
But
I know, dude.
the idea of a vehicle
So
in
smart.
which that has control at the point where someone can hack and take care of your vehicle. Even aside from like the external control by the government or the manufacturer conversation, something that I think is drastically under-discussed is the cybersecurity of externally connected vehicles. Because now cyber hacking becomes a physical health and safety risk.
Absolutely.
Right? We talk about bad actors getting into computer systems
smart way to
all the
phrase
time, right? What if a bad actor gets into a car or a group of cars, right? They kind of played with this idea in one of the newer Fast and Furious movies, which was
Amen.
like the only good thing about that movie.
Where all those cars start shooting out of the parking garage onto the street.
Right?
Remember that?
But
scene?
I never watched the movie, no.
a terribly overlooked risk of, right, let's say you get to the point where 10% of the road-going population is a self-driving capable,
Autonomous,
virtually connected vehicle.
Yeah.
What if a foreign adversary
Takes over
or just a bad actor is able to take control of a small portion
10%.
of that of that number of vehicles. The
Yeah.
amount of havoc and destruction and loss of life that could be done with that, I think we are drastically underrating the importance of being able to manually override an artificial system,
Right.
especially in transportation.
Well, because it's like if I want to carjack you, now I can do it from the comfort and safety of my own home, and I can
Right.
Yeah.
I can summit.
You can steal someone's car from a couch in a basement anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
Right.
and don't say I'm ever going to be a good father, but if I leave the baby in the car and I go in to get my
Right.
sodas and my snacks and comic books, and I spend a little bit too much
Because
time
your car
talking
now
to
has a child safety mode where it'll keep them cool.
I
and keep
assume
them
so.
happy.
Right. I
But
assume so.
that's General Motors' problem. And then
Oh no,
then
OnStar's always
out
watching. You're
I walk
okay.
out to the parking lot, and and Sugar Junior is gone, in the Cybertruck, and I don't see him.
Oh, you're
again.
having a boy. Okay.
Sugar could be a girl.
So does that make them sucrose or fructose?
Sucralose, no.
Well, the sad thing is, OnStar's been watching us and listening to us since they first put them in the vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can't remember who they were saying. Some high-profile person was actually murdered by somebody going beep boop on their laptop and steering their vehicle into the overpass pylon.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
Oh, they're saying what Princess Diana or something like
No,
that kind of a thing.
no,
Or
not
what?
her, but somebody else
That was
in the
too
2000s.
Yeah.
They offed him, if you will, air
Right.
quotes.
Well,
Using-
Cybertruck has no physical connection to the wheels. When you turn it off, road test editors have gone in and turned the steering wheel 90 degrees, and then turn the car on, and then the wheels, the tires turn to that position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so and we've given away throttle pedals, and we've given away there's no cable.
Right.
Right.
Things and all that stuff too. I'm gonna carburate an LS. Will be the next engine I make, I think now, because I can get that control back. But it's interesting. But I don't necessarily want to be. I don't want to dig a hole in the ground and also just hoard corn chips and say that I can't talk to my neighbors anymore. I know that
Sure.
we're gonna be in the future. We're gonna live among it. So it's like, so how do we address it? Do you have to become? Everybody has to now all of a sudden become a cyber hacker in order to just maintain their cars?
Right.
Will we be in a society of you will own nothing and you will be happy because you don't own a car, you rent it. When you don't make the payment, then the car leaves and it repossesses itself. I mean,
Well,
that's possible now.
I think there's
all rideshare.
multiple levels to that question.
Yeah.
And I'll start with government
Okay.
because the government needs to, first of all, not enact law that requires external control of vehicles. Because I could see them, marketing that as a safety thing, right?
External control.
Right.
Like we need to be able to control
Keep you
interstate
safe.
traffic and whatever, right? To keep you safe. That has to be stopped.
Yeah.
First of all.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, it needs to be on the companies. They need to market it and make this decision that they're going to prioritize the safety and the
Well, maybe even liability. I mean,
liability, everything of
'cause-
their operators.
'Cause, okay, let's say-
the vehicle's primary safety
Of the
concern
software programmers
is-
and operators like that.
of the operator of the vehicle.
Oh, I see.
Right. So like the primary safety concern of a vehicle should be its operators.
Uh-huh.
Right, then you get into this whole Isaac Asimov thing, right? When we do the iRobot game, but like there needs to be a sense in which it used to be expected that any time that you interacted with a machine,
yeah.
you understood the machine, and that if it failed, you would be able to, you were a safety mechanism.
Yes.
Right.
Right? And what we do now is we try and make systems so advanced
That we're safe.
that the system itself is the safety mechanism from the person.
Yeah.
And the problem is humans will never create a perfect system, right? We've had so many sci-fi movies on this, people. Come on. But like there always needs to be an option for human override.
Right.
Period.
No matter what it is.
Right? And the problem with a
Human Override might be a good title for that sci-fi movie.
Yeah, right.
And the next garage band.
Well, and
You should be able to sit in your Tesla and say, I'm going to go off.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm driving my Tesla by myself without you watching, paying attention.
Right. Disconnect it from the network.
Right.
Or let's say, like, moisture gets in the wrong place and there's an issue with the signal from your steering wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Is your car just going to start jerking all over the road, or can you hold the steering wheel?
Right.
Right? There's like, how many different failure cases are you like the operator, and this is even a legal liability thing, right? If there is not a manual level of control,
Right.
who is liable for an accident?
Interesting.
Is it the system or the person? Because if I have no ability to override the system and the system is in control, the system is liable.
Then you're a passenger.
So, right? I'm a passenger. I am not the operator.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right? The
dude.
operator is whoever programmed. Back to This Is the Way
Cybertruck,
and the
man.
best show ever.
There you go.
Is
Yes,
a machine is a neutral impression of whoever programmed it. Right?
Right.
Quill was spot on with that.
Right.
In that, so like your Tesla, if your Tesla Cybertruck that
Yes.
you're driving and it's in autonomous mode, and there is a fly-by-wire failure
Right.
and it wrecks, who is liable? Because as the operator, you are physically incapable of correcting that situation.
You've surrendered control to it.
Right? You are not the one in control. So
Right.
the liability cannot be reflected on
It's
you.
on Tesla, though.
Right? And I don't want to be in a vehicle in which if an emergency like that happens, right, that I could be put in a situation where my vehicle does damage and I am unable to have input or
Right.
something
And
like that,
and
right?
that's
Yeah, exactly.
and there have been lawsuits and cases, and the passenger in the Tesla was found liable for that wreck because they did have some kind of a way to hit the brakes and override is what
Right.
Tesla implied to them. Mercedes-Benz has said that we will take on the liability if you're in an autonomous mode,
Yeah.
which is huge.
Yes, it is.
And I think that's how it should have been always, or this
Right.
vehicle should not have been allowed on the road. But like what you said, sorry, I just want to go. I had a big eureka thing. Even with this fly-by-wire steering, which is it Acura NSX even has fly-by-wire steering? They have fly-by-wire throttle and they have fly-by-wire braking. I don't know about steering, but the Cybertruck, I think, might be one of the first cars that has no physical interaction with anything. These are just digital buttons,
Right.
And so that's why you can do variable speed turning and everything else, which is super cool for a golf
Right.
cart, but not for a vehicle that's 7,000
I
miles.
might
And hurling down the highway.
golf cart maybe, but watch it with go-karts.
Yeah.
We touched a subject there?
Hands off my go-kart.
Absolutely, yeah. But when you get down to, so even though you have the wheel and you're turning, then maybe some lawyer could say that, well, my client's not responsible for vehicular homicide because they never had an attachment to the physical wheel, from the
Right.
steering wheel, and
Yeah.
so it's like, so that lawsuit might change things too. That could be
Right.
that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and it does also come down to like what kind of connection you have
Yeah.
to, right? Like if there's a closed, a lot of issues happen when you have some sort of digital control, right? If I have a closed loop analog circuit in which I have an electric drive-by-wire system, however, it's a closed loop where my inputs are directly translated to the system, that's a different conversation than a fly-by-wire system where my inputs are sent to a digital computer that does processing and applies its own algorithms and its own extra
Translation or
operator
whatever,
input into then making a decision on what it will allow you to do.
Yeah.
Right? That's the difference between a good automatic transmission and a bad automatic transmission,
Yes.
right? Because a good automatic transmission is an automatic transmission that does all the transmission-y things,
Yeah.
right? And doesn't tell you, no, you don't get second gear right now,
What the hell? Why can't I have it?
right?
I
Like,
wanna
you're not allowed to downshift,
You're a slush box.
right?
I want to slush through all those gears. Let me slush through first, second, third, second, fourth, whatever.
Maybe, but I don't know. I mean,
Good one, yeah.
But that's
You're right.
that's performance thing, and I like it's like the automated manual or whatever of and now DSG and
Right.
and PDK is really lovely and that helps you, but it's also just helping you go faster, and it's and when you're and it is a different feeling than a
And driving modern performance
than an 80s
cars,
Oldsmobile.
like I've been lucky enough because of my job now to like
Right.
drive around in a new M2 Comp and an RS5, and like when you're dealing with a car
M2 Comp.
that has, especially at the performance level that our company pushes it to, like a lot of that input, it is. I think you want to work your way up to manual control, maybe, but it's so much power happening so quickly that
You kind of need the
I
assist.
understand the like at least getting used to it in automatic mode for a while,
Right.
because like there's a lot happening very quickly, and your goal as a driver should be to work to a point where that's not a lot for you anymore.
Yeah.
That you understand everything that's
Second
going
nature.
on. You're not overthinking, right? Yeah, it's second nature. It's muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's intuitive. You want to get to the point where race car drivers are processing so much information as they drive beyond even what's happening with the car,
Right.
and they don't get there by just jumping in and going, right? They train and prepare for it. And so like any high performance car, you're not just going to jump in and go.
And make it go its fullest potential.
But these cars coming off the dealership, that's what's going to happen, right? That's why we're worried with like the level of performance we're putting in the M2. It's like, we hope people don't do something stupid with this because it's a lot of car and it's a lot of performance.
Well, it's
Right?
coming off.
So like don't jump into a 750 horsepower rear wheel drive car and think you can turn the wheel, put your foot down, and nothing's going to happen.
Let's start doing cool cookies.
Right.
Well,
You're probably
you're-
gonna break something if
Yeah.
you just
an
do
M2
that.
comes off the
Like,
off the dealer lot at what 460 something horse, is that right? And then
yeah.
and what are you guys cranking this thing up to?
I'm.
Because you
This is not 100% accurate.
sure, but-
So check with our website or whatever before it. But I believe we're like 750 ish with our power package.
golly, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for cursing, but yeah.
You need to
That-
calm down.
And that's maintaining the warranty. Like that's with warranty intact. That's the wildest thing about Carbon.
not a
is-
separate warranty, but you mean still BMW?
Yeah,
factory
like BMW,
warranty.
you can get our parts from a dealership. The dealership will install them for you. They'll install our tune on like you can leave the car. You can leave the dealership with a Carbon tuned car,
Okay.
and it's phenomenal.
Wow.
Like the amount of performance per dollar for some of the things that we do to those cars is incredible. And the fact that we've made the call as a company to stand behind our product and its development enough to say that the factory warranty is intact,
That's insane.
right? That's wild.
That's insane.
I mean, who else is adding that much power or performance and saying, yeah, your warranty's good?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't. Maybe there's someone else in this space, but I don't know.
Do you
Of
think
them.
even Hennessy does that? I think your warranty's void as soon as you have Hennessy do something with their car.
Yeah, I don't.
So
And maybe Hennessy has some other protection.
Maybe they have their own warranty, right? that
their
they
own,
do,
but not a factory one. I
I'm
don't
not
think.
super familiar with.
That's the only other
I don't-
company I could think of
Yeah.
besides
Yeah,
Carbon that does stuff like Carbon.
And would you say you're a Toyota and a BMW guy now? Would you say that what is it? The B58 is your modern 2JZ? That engine?
I don't know. I don't think I haven't been around it long enough. So let me preface that like I've been with Carbon since January, right? So I was an aerospace engineer at Lockheed Martin before Carbon, and I did satellite and spaceship stuff. And I'm still relatively new to being a professional in the automotive space and not just a hobbyist.
I love you, Jacob.
So I don't
I'm not
think
really
I've
qualified
had
to it.
enough.
I just built spaceships.
I could get your
I don't
BMW into
understand.
space, but I haven't really known how to
sorry.
fix it yet.
Well, I said I have to do. I coming out of college, I was like, I need to work on things that are fast, right? Spaceships or race cars. Those are my options. And I did spaceships for a while, so now it's race
I
cars.
can't think of anything
yeah, dude.
faster than those two things. No,
yeah.
you're right.
Um,
Good golly.
yeah, I'm just.
But yeah, no, I haven't had enough personal interaction to make a judgment on that.
Is and Dynan or Carbon, you guys are just BMW, or you're also in Audi?
So we start with BMW, right? That is where the bulk of our knowledge is, and that's where the bulk of Steve's knowledge is. I mean, Steve knows just about everything about cars, but he especially knows everything about BMWs.
Yes,
I mean, he could build like any number of different BMW engines in his sleep, right? And set up their suspension.
Have you thought about just putting a cot next to the manufacturing?
Yeah, right. See if we can like put some like a brain scanner on him. No, but
keep the line going during the night. Yeah.
we do
we
do BMW, and then we're working on other brands.
Okay,
right.
cool.
So German performance is definitely going to be our specialty, and we're going to kind of work our way through those brands, and it's just going to be dependent on like what the workload is and how fast we can get stuff out on how many cars we touch.
Okay.
Like the more stuff we get done, the more cars we get to move on to.
Are you guys doing full? What's your main products? I guess that you're coming out with. Is it tuning? Is it because I know you have obviously chassis braces and other.
Right. So our specialty is suspension and tuning.
Okay.
Right. So our tuning is just the amount of power that we're able to find in engines with the computer control. Again, just taking that more development time and making decisions that maybe the engineers weren't able to.
Right.
Or they're making a car for everybody, for a really wide audience.
Right.
And you're making it for a specific one who understands the danger
our
of
audience is someone who wants a really high performance car, not someone who just wants a really fancy car that they know is capable.
And they can afford the insurance on it.
Yeah, sure.
Because when you get past 400 horsepower, insurance changes.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that yet.
I wouldn't either. But those are wives' tales that I've heard.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't
But our thing. So there's the tuning, right? We do a lot of power, and we offer supporting mods for that, right? So we have our own intakes and coolers and stuff like that, oil coolers, engine coolers, intake coolers, all of that sort of stuff. And then our next most important thing is suspension, right? Steve is a wizard with suspension.
Okay.
Right? Our secret sauce, if you will, is Steve. You hand him a car, he drives around it for a little while, and he goes, front spring rate needs to go up this much, rear spring rate needs to change this much, your sway bars feel, this one needs to be softer, this one needs to be harder, and by the way, that linkage felt weird, let's see if we can like change the angle of it and like give it a different bushing. Like he sits in a factory car and takes it to a performance level that most owners can't even understand. Like when we've had people sit in the car with Steve, it has blown their mind into the next stratosphere knowing what their car can do. And he gets out of the car and goes, it's pretty good. Make these changes. Yeah. Right. And those changes are what make it into our suspension kits of selecting very specific spring rates and lengths and settings on your sway bars and even changing suspension geometry if we need to
Right.
to get the characteristics that we want out of that
Do
car.
you guys ever change, like, how drastic do you go? Do you actually change, like, different positions where it actually mounts on the vehicles? Are you drawing?
Like Ron did.
Yeah. Are you drilling into a different
Right. Well, that's
spot?
like
are you moving-
caster camber adjustment.
Well,
right?
yeah,
Like having
I think so.
adjustment plates on the, especially for like McPherson strut stuff.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
Having
that's a
adjustment
big
in that.
BMW thing.
That's like, yeah, I mean, mostly you're seeing like McPherson and the double A arm or like 5-link, right, in a lot of modern cars. Or if you're gonna reach the performance level of the Prius, you know, you have a solid square tube axle
Yeah.
Nice.
with like a tie rod and a spring in the back.
And you had the,
That's how you do it. That's
did
how
the
you do it.
swap. You did the solid beam swap. That's awesome.
Yeah.
SRS.
Solid beam swap. Yeah.
S
Oh.
solid rears.
Yeah, not a lot of people know about it. It's pretty cool. It's like a big sway bar. It's cool.
But I mean, it depends on what we need, right?
Sure.
A lot of cars, it's really just vehicle specific, and
Okay, and then
yeah,
I see on the website here where you got your exhaust tip.
you're doing a shush. Yeah. Is there a so a lot of like corner balancing? Are you doing other things like this? I mean, are you? How much more does a M4, M3, need to be?
well,
balanced,
the BMWs are really good. The
Yeah.
BMWs get close, right?
Yeah.
And that's especially with the BMWs, you can tell. Like, and as an engineer, and I'm sure this is the similar thing with fabricators, is like when you interact with someone else's work that's in your same role, you can kind of see the decisions they made in the part, right?
Yeah.
So you can see.
That's a really well said thing.
Yeah,
it
they
is.
probably made this decision because of X. You know,
Yeah.
maybe this was some external factor of like cost or management or legal liability, or they just
Timeline.
made a decision that was different,
Right.
right? And you can also see when they screwed it up. But
Sometimes you can see the changes through the years, how
yeah.
it was like this.
sometimes
in the
it's
beginning.
just decisions that they made that went in a different direction than you want to go.
Man, I hated it, but I pinned down when I was working at an Audi
Right.
dealership, talking to Heinrich, and the engineers would come in and just going, man, these things, what's going on with this issue that we had? And we would have a lot of oil leaks and
Yeah.
coolant leaks everywhere. And he says, well, there's just a lot of, he would say in the German accent or whatever, there's a lot of heat under the hood, basically. And that he says, we'll fix it on the next one.
Yeah.
And so he admitted kind of a thing that basically that you watch the warranty claims and then they fix it on the next car. And
Right.
it's like, okay.
Well, and BMW does, every car is different and every brand's different. And the more you work on cars, you recognize trends and philosophies in different brands, right? And BMW definitely develops their car as a whole system better. Whereas, like, also working, like, I'm designing some stuff for an RS5 right now, some really cool stuff.
Love that.
And gosh, I hate some of the decisions they made on that car with a passion.
Hate that.
Like it was clearly designed as a more modular system.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just a different design philosophy. And that gives it different characteristics. There may be things you hate or love more about it. And it changes how, as an engineer, I interact with the vehicle and the changes that I'm going to make to it. But it's clear that BMW, like taking something like the M2 or the M4, designed that vehicle more as a whole, where Audi took a more modular approach, where they focused on optimizing things more in segments and then putting them together.
Right.
And that philosophy led to decisions that I disagree with and I will be changing
And some of the
on our
things,
products.
they have to
Carbon has
use
to
it
change,
on this platform and that platform,
Right,
and that platform
right.
and that platform.
So, like, take a company like Toyota. Every company does this,
Right.
Right, in that they develop engines and they put those engines in multiple different cars.
Cost
Right?
effective.
So maybe there's one, and that lets you get more car for less money. Like you are like maybe let's say Audi took more time to design a bespoke car, like the R8, which is phenomenal,
Right.
Yeah, man.
right? but it's a lot more expensive,
And there's nothing that
right?
it shares with anything else.
Yeah.
So
So you get,
For a Lamborghini Huracan.
but like you get at the point of like that commonality brings the price point down where
Right.
you can get more car, right? But when you're looking at the car, you go, there's a compromise.
right.
Right? There's a compromise that was made for whatever very legitimate reason
Yeah.
was made.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's a compromise that aftermarket companies like mine, Carbon, get to exploit and say, this is a compromise they had to make that we can undo and do something better
Let's
with it.
improve it for the
Right?
owner and everything.
Because we have the cost and the schedule to go into it and then offer, we identify things like that where we can say, okay, this is worth our time and our effort to put together a package for an owner that says, if you buy this, it will improve this car's performance.
Right.
Okay, so then now that you have all this information, you've been driving these cars and you've been in the guts and from the manufacturing things. Now that you have, let's say you're given the blank check, what are you going to buy then? What car are you looking to buy to get that would agree with your philosophy that you're just espousing now?
Oh,
McLaren.
Maybe like a 1 year newer Prius 5.
yeah, right. Well, I already have the facelift model, so I'm pretty good. I've even got LED taillights.
Okay,
Holy
let's say the
shnikes.
Prius 5 never existed. then.
Nike. Sorry for cussing.
Yeah, exactly. The Prius 5 never existed, so
Yeah.
now you're free to think
outside of
of other vehicles.
I think honestly, like correcting all the problems with the STI
Yeah,
and making it what I want it to be
yeah.
would be like doing a unlimited budget Resta mod
Yeah.
of that. I know it's only a 2009, but like an unlimited budget Resta mod on that car
Yeah.
would be super cool. I've always been a huge Honda fan, so
Singer
the NSX,
version
of course, like first, second, third generation, I love them all.
Yeah.
The NSX is such a cool platform.
I agree.
I would love to work on one of those. But okay, unlimited budget. Koenigsegg's always at the top,
Okay.
right? When you start getting in, when you reach the price point where you can even say Koenigsegg,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other world.
Gosh,
That new.
the Koenigsegg's are art.
Yeah.
They are uncompromised art. They're incredible.
And they fly.
Yeah,
They absolutely
and they make a
fly.
family car now, so
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the Camaro. Yeah, I mean totally. Yeah. No, you got
So-
4 seats to fill now, right?
There's so
But
many options.
congratulations. by the
Or
way, but
I could also go the route of like having a whole fleet of $5,000 cars that I've put more than that into.
I think that's what I would do too. BMW power, LS power, everything.
There's
Like the Ineos. It's
there's
BMW
so
powered,
many dumb cars that I want to build.
Right.
Like throw back
the
to the
dumbest?
$5,000 episode. Oh my gosh, that was and that was the
Yeah,
funny
I
thing
know,
was
it's funny.
right when you guys dropped that, I had deleted Facebook off my phone because I was spending like an hour and a half a day, like watching
Marketplace?
listings. If there was a car within 25 miles under 10,000 that was remotely interesting, it was saved on my profile. Okay,
Right.
like I was watching it, and I would text people. I was like, "You bought this car 2 days ago for this much in this city. Did you do anything in it, or are you just scalping?" Like,
This guy.
oh my gosh.
yeah, that was one of our more fun episodes. I think we need to do that again. But maybe we actually
Man, the number of fun
mechanical
projects
sympathy
you could
blood.
do.
I think we have to pick like African cars from this continent for 5,000.
Oh,
from
yeah.
this region
Yeah.
for 5,000.
Oh, that would be fun because there's so many things that aren't offered in America that are
Right.
really cool.
You would have to do some really good research and figure. Well, just fly there
Cough, cough,
and do it.
Mitsubishi Shogun.
Okay, Superformance. There's an African car. It's built in South Africa.
Right?
Do it.
All those Cobra
Dude,
cars.
the
that
checks.
are
There's
made in South
some
Africa.
wild cars coming out of the Czech.
Yeah. Really? Like what?
Yeah.
In Czech, the former Czech.
Gosh, just some like
Republic or
like
whatever they call it?
really small company high performance stuff. Like really off the wall
It seems like
carbon
there's a lot
fiber
of
tub.
companies coming out like that.
Yeah.
Just obscure place
And different-
and they're trying to
different
get in the
places.
supercar world, if you ask
Yeah.
me. and some of them are succeeding.
Some
I
of
can't
them are
think of a
super
name of a
cool.
single one right now. My memory
yeah,
retention is
right.
horrible.
Well, I gotcha, but there's
None of those are going to be on your $5,000 in that country
No, they
list,
won't.
though.
No, they won't. That's the dream list in that country.
Oh my
Because
gosh!
we went unlimited budget, I think, after a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We went a little off the...
I know, and then immediately after we stopped recording, then $1 billion and more came to mind. And I'm
Oh
sure
my
people
gosh,
who are
yeah.
listening are going like, "Well, what about the Bugatti whatever's?" And it's like,
We'd
yeah.
love to hear that feedback if you have it
That
still.
black Chiron that is somewhere in the
In Colorado?
Highlands Park area.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, seeing him go.
Yeah, if you're
go
on Facebook
up
and
and
Colorado
down University
Car Spotters,
Boulevard.
it shows
Oh,
up. It shows up all
But
the
the
time.
dude drives like God bless that dude for actually driving that car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he gets it. He has a Bugatti and he goes out and drives it.
Right.
Like that's what should be done. Like
was
that
it?
guy is.
Who was that
Hats
guy?
off to him.
He's my hero. Yeah, that's great.
One of the celebrities just bought a 24-mile 1994 Mustang, and it was still in the dealer plastic. It was still all of it. And he's like,
And he rips it open
takes
and
it all
goes.
off. Yeah, I'm going to drive the heck out of this son of a gun. Sorry for cursing.
Amen.
And that's what he did. First thing he did as soon as it got delivered was start driving.
Didn't Ford try and curb that with their GT program? Like they would like interview all the prospective
Yeah,
buyers.
Cena's getting
to
sued
try
because
and-
he's selling his.
Yeah, yeah. There's
That's
like a
why I
whole
don't sell
contract
mine.
about
Yeah.
that.
You have to sign a contract and
Yeah.
keep it for so long and sell it to these
Which
people. And
is ridiculous. That's
that's a monopoly, then.
I mean, it's like I paid for it. I'm going to
Right.
do whatever the heck I want. If you don't want it to be that way, then
Right.
then
Well,
make
that's-
50 million of them and make them devalued so
Right.
that they're not a problem.
Right.
It's like, come on, dude. Just
That's
give
called
me my supercar.
micromanaging.
Yeah, exactly. I
Seems like.
I don't know.
Understandable, but also
Yeah, there's probably
Freedom!
there's some fun economics of it, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, paint your face up like George Wallace and walk into or not George Wallace, William Wallace.
William
there's a little bit
Wallace.
difference, right? Yeah.
That was a Freudian slip.
Like George
Oh
Wallace
my
and make
gosh.
and then get canceled. But paint your face up like William Wallace and go into the Ford dealership and then say, I'm buying a GT and you're not going to stop me from selling it tomorrow.
And,
oh my gosh.
and flip your skirt or kilt and say freedom.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, yeah, which is way different than
Feast your eyes on this.
Yeah.
on my 3D printed.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I love it, man. Jacob, thanks so much for showing up and spinning long tales about all the experiences that you've done. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for reaching out. That was great.
It's been so much fun.
Heck yeah.
This is great.
Dude, what's
Maybe you'll have to come see my print shop sometime. In my
Please.
basement.
I was thinking if we could do like a 6-month and a 12-month
Yeah.
touch back with you.
we have to follow
Yeah.
up.
How much changes?
How
I'm
much
sure a lot will, dude. I'm
Because you've only
Oh,
been there
girl.
6 months, so what's the next 6
sure.
months going to be like?
No, I'm growing. So that's the crazy thing about a small company. You do so much more.
Right.
You learn so much more.
Right.
So it's like being in the deep end all the time, and it's awesome.
These last 6 months has just flown by, I'm sure,
Oh yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah, well, and there's a baby in the mix too. So,
So you're not sleeping a lot either.
she's doing great right now. She's
good.
only waking up like once or twice a night.
Good.
It's awesome.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
How's mom doing?
congratulations.
Huh?
Oh, she's doing great.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Hallelujah, man. Thanks so much for coming. What's the good website to if people want to check out your stuff? Is it
If
Carbon?
if you want to check out my work with Carbon, go to carbon.com. Just CARBAHN.
Okay.
Just think Autobahn with car at the beginning.
what about
and
your fun stuff? That
Yeah,
you're doing?
my personal stuff. I have a little website called How I See Additive. It's if you look up How I See on Instagram or type in How I See, you'll probably find it. But the last bit, How I See, is
Yeah.
my last name, SEAY.
Okay.
So
perfect.
that's. But that's my 3D printing side gig. I have some like products that I offer. That's stuff I design or whatnot. files that I have contracts for, and then I prefer to do contract manufacturing. So if someone needs something made, it's like a machine shop, except I 3D print stuff.
Wow. Okay. So then, like, can they come to you when you're if they're cosplay guys? If they say, I want a cup holder for my for my BMW, or do they a chassis brace? Do they come to you, or are you doing Are you farming out CAD design? What are you doing here with this site?
All the above.
Okay, really?
It
Wow,
depends.
cool.
It depends on the application, right? The beauty of 3D printing is it's really good for small production stuff, right? If you're
prototyping.
talking like under 1,000 units, it's probably worth going through 3D printing for compared to like traditional manufacturing, like molding and stuff.
Right.
So I've done a variety of work. I've done RC car stuff. I've done board game stuff, cosplay stuff for cars. I made a door handle for a Cessna that like the person's door handle fell off mid-flight and they don't make them anymore. So I replicated it and printed it out of a material that was safe for that use.
Right.
So I do some modeling myself. It depends if it's more like part modeling.
Yeah.
Like engineering related modeling as opposed to like art sculptures and stuff,
Sure.
then I'll do it myself. If it's more artistic or something like Star Wars or Halo, done a lot of Star Wars and Halo stuff.
Yeah.
I do like purchase those files or find
Nice.
them online and have different sources for those other designers I trust. So
Wow. Okay. Can you how many, like if they say, I want to get a product that's, 4x4 or something in size, then how many of those could you realistically print out for somebody?
Yeah, so I have a full professional quote system built out that I can do for people. I just finished an order of 150 custom light fixtures for an audiovisual company down in the Springs.
Okay.
Wow. So
that's pretty serious. then.
Yeah, so I can do that. Was about a month of printing to complete that order. A month or
but
two.
this is not like just one or two one-offs kind of a thing.
Yeah, so it depends, right? It depends on what your need is. If you found something cool on the internet that you want printed and you just aren't capable, that's a really easy couple day turnaround to have it to you. If you want to work with me on like a really custom part where we're talking design and picking out materials and doing a couple test models that you're gonna abuse and test like you should before we actually do a production run, obviously that takes more time.
But but you're open to it.
But yeah, I'm open to
Awesome. Okay, and we'll put a link to both of your websites in the description of the episode.
Brewster should order his keychains from.
Yeah, Brewster. Yes, Jeff Brewster should definitely. JB Jeff. All right. Thanks so much, Jacob. You're awesome. I appreciate you.
And I brought some stuff for you guys. Actually, these little models here. So I'm a huge nerd, and these are not even Star Wars. This is from an intellectual property called BattleTech.
Like the old board game.
Yes.
BattleTech.
You've heard of the board game? This is wonderful.
I used to buy Macross model jets and things like that.
Yes.
And I would never watch the cartoon. I just bought the toys because I loved them so much. How beautiful they were.
I only watched the cartoon.
Like Gundam, like Mobile Suit Gundam.
Mobile Suit Gundam.
I haven't watched it. I'm actually kind of watching it right now because it's on YouTube.
I built models and before
beautiful.
I watched the cartoon. Because I just saw them in the comic book stores or whatever.
Absolutely.
But the DVDs or VHSs at the time, were too expensive. But it's like I could spend $30 on this or $30 on the Japan import DVD or whatever. So so it was like I'll get the robot.
Yeah. So BattleTech, it started as a board game. It's an expansive intellectual property now that has so much built around it. But it's a very realistic take on the future. But one of those things being that in the future where combat is conducted under rules with like multi-digit ton battle robots, battle mechs. GM still exists, and they make the GM Marauder heavy battle mech.
It's so beautiful.
So I've printed a
printed it out
200% scale board game piece
Oh,
for Sugar of that one.
that is,
And
only 3 inch tall, and it's
unfortunately,
gorgeous.
I couldn't find anything Toyota that still exists in universe. And
Poor man.
I thought Nissan was kind of close, but they only produce engines in the future, apparently. So I did find, though, I've scaled this up a lot, but an IFV like troop transport. It's a glorified future Hummer.
Yeah, it looks
model.
like a good-looking Hummer.
So, yeah,
It looks like a sleek aerodynamic
yeah,
Hummer.
Perhaps
pretty
amphibious.
cool.
It's somewhat bulbous. Sorry for cussing.
Voluptuous and bulbous. It's gorgeous,
That thing
dude.
is awesome. Four-wheel independent suspension.
Yeah.
I don't even, I have to look close in the reflections to see any lines. This is amazingly detailed. Your resolution is wonderful.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that
cool.
was a resin printed on a 12K exposure machine.
Gosh.
With
It says Marauder in the
impact
base.
tough
It does.
material. So
This
yeah,
is beautiful.
They're not super fragile, but don't chuck them across the garage.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I can't let the 4-year-old play with this one.
Yeah, thanks for making it big enough.
I don't know, that truck you might be able to.
That'll be. This is big enough so it'll be hard to swallow. So I appreciate that too. But
Yeah.
this is beautiful. I will.
4-year-old
Thank
might
you
swallow
so
this one.
much. We get to keep these for sure.
You get to keep those.
Thanks.
I'm gonna
dude.
hold on to this forever, dude. I'm serious.
Can I paint it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to be
They're
painting some
cured
white
and
pearl
everything.
tomorrow.
Yeah, dude. Nice.
I think I'm going to paint it white pearl.
Get some little craft brushes. And
Heck yeah, dude.
No, I'm just going to set it on the...
just airbrush. Just paint it with the.
Just paint it with the truck tomorrow.
Just airbrush it. Shh.
It'll go in.
Big.
I'll mask off the wheels. And
Yeah, this
so
is
they
the
stay.
paint booth that we're sitting in too.
Yeah,
So
this is yeah.
yeah,
This is the paint booth.
there's a time lapse of Greg painting the
Yeah.
inner side of the Bronco lid, the 73 Bronco lid just the other day. So
I'm really enthralled with this truck. This is really cool. Thank you. And then when we stop recording, I have to show you my buddy's golf cart thing
Okay.
that he's building.
Nice.
Golf carts.
okay, good cue. We'll stop recording then. Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob.
Look for his websites in the description below.
Yep.
Right.
John it.